Welcome to From Center Ice. My name is Courtney. Today is Thursday, and if you still hear the faint sound of happy screaming, it's because the IceHogs finally won a game! They went into Tuesday night's game with the Cleveland Monsters. It was the second half of a back-to-back off of a very bad showing on Monday, losing 7-3. They put that game behind them. They came out on Tuesday. They looked like a team, and they beat the Monsters 3-2. I cannot properly explain to you the amount of relief that I felt in my soul when that final buzzer went and the IceHogs had more goals on the board than the opponent. It didn't seem like it was ever gonna happen this season, let alone the night immediately following a loss of 7-3. It just seemed like a bad omen, but it was not. So let's go over the questions I had for game number 7 against the Cleveland Monsters to talk about how this one went down. Question number 1, will they start the game on time? This has been one of the biggest downfalls for the IceHogs so far this season. The puck drops on the first period and they're just not ready to play. But we did not see that on Tuesday night. They came out, they were ready, they were skating, they were getting shots. I felt like I was looking at a completely different team out there. It looked like they brought a bunch of different guys in, slapped some IceHogs jerseys on them with the old names on the back, and just sent them out to play. But that's not how it went. That was our players on the ice. The same exact guys who had 2 very bad games leading up to this one, and they came out on Tuesday looking good. That was the first sign that this game might not have been as bad as the 2 that came before it, especially the one that came before it. Say they had lost this game. Even if a team loses a hockey game, as is bound to happen multiple times over the course of a season, it's a lot easier to be okay with that result if you see good things throughout the game. Maybe they play really well, the bounces just don't go their way, or they run into an extremely hot goaltender, or the puck just keeps going in the back of the IceHogs net no matter what the goaltender does. These things just happen. But what we've seen so far this year from the IceHogs is that they just weren't doing themselves any favors out there. They lost 6 games leading up to this Tuesday night game, the first 6 games of the season. They went completely defeated, and game to game, that really looked like the result that they should have gotten. Of course, you always hope for a miracle, and teams win games that they shouldn't win also multiple times a season. Hockey is a very weird sport. That's why we love it. One of the reasons, I guess. But on Tuesday night, the Rockford IceHogs were ready for puck drop at 6 p.m. and it set the tone for the rest of the game. Question number 2, will we see a different goaltender? Heading into Tuesday night, we saw Matt Tompkins start 5 of the first 6 games of the season. The one start that wasn't his went to Scott Darling before he was released from his PTO. Obviously, the IceHogs went winless in all of those games. Monday night's game was not very flattering for Matt Tompkins, let us say. And we saw Kale Morris come in the 3rd period, and he was very good. He allowed 1 goal on 14 shots. It was a one-timer on the power play. It happens. So for Tuesday night's game, the big question was, does Derek King go back to Matt Tompkins and see if he can redeem himself for Monday night, see if he can work through it? I don't know. Some sort of thought process along those lines. Or will he start Kale Morris because he played very well to end the game before? And that is what he did. Kale Morris got his first professional start Tuesday night against the Cleveland Monsters. And not only did he get his first professional start, he got his first professional win. That's gotta feel good for the rookie. And not only did he get his first start, his first win, but he looked good doing it. He looked calm and collected in net. It didn't seem like the pressure of the moment was getting to him at all. I'm sure internally he was probably a little nervous, but outwardly you wouldn't be able to tell. He came up with some massive stops during this game. More than once he went post to post and shut down the goal barely. Had he been a fraction of a second slower on a lot of these, that would have been a goal against. It was a very impressive first start for the kid to build off of a very impressive first period for him the night before. You gotta be happy for him, and you gotta be happy as an IceHogs fan seeing this team finally get a win. I was very hard on Matt Tompkins after Monday night's game. Again, it was not flattering for him. But it's not like he's just done playing for the Hogs. They likely still consider him the starting goaltender for the team. And he will get his net back. Hopefully he comes out and wants to prove himself, seeing as the other guy got the first win of the season. I could see him doing it. I want Matt Tompkins to be good. I'm rooting for the guy. I just don't like what I've seen so far. But it is early in the season. That can all change. That's up to him. If he works hard and wants to do it, I'm sure he can get back to form and be that #1 goaltender for the team. In the meantime, it does really help having the other guy that looks very good. We'll see how the goaltending situation plays out over the course of the season. We do still have a third guy in Tom Aubryn. He hasn't seen any game action yet. I am very curious to see how he plays. I don't know when he'll get his shot. Maybe that's this weekend. They have another back-to-back. We just do not know. On the topic of Kale Morris, he has a very interesting goaltending style, and I can't explain it quite yet because I haven't seen enough of him to do so. So I'm definitely going to be watching him a little closer so I can expand on that down the road. All I know is from watching him in the 1 period on Monday and the full 60 on Tuesday, I was like, that's interesting. Not something that we usually see, but it works. Question number 3. Will the skaters limit the amount of scoring chances? This one is an interesting question. Tuesday night saw the Cleveland Monsters getting 37 shots at Kale Morris. In the first period, they had 13 shots. Second period, they had 11 shots. And they closed out the game by getting another 13 in the third period. And like I said, Morris had to make some big stops, going post to post on a couple of them. And he made some stops right in close to the net that with a generous bounce for the other team could have gone in. It was, like I said before, a very impressive game for the kid. So he faced a ton of shots. He had to make some huge saves, but overall the IceHogs defense did play a lot better. If you were to look at the numbers for scoring chances or high danger scoring chances, I wouldn't be surprised if they equaled the previous games. But there was just something about how this team defense played on Tuesday that looked a lot better. I don't know if it was the location of the shots, the frequency of the high danger chances. It could be a combination of anything. Or I was just very happy because it looked like the team was playing better. There's always that. Sometimes the eye test fails you. But I think the majority of people watching that game could tell you that this team looked light years better than they have so far. Going off of scoring and the scoring chances, let's talk about the goals that came in this game. The first period saw 0 goals either way. That was kind of nice to see, especially after Monday night's game, when Cleveland had 3 goals in under 8 minutes. That wasn't a fun way to start the back-to-back. So then they went into the second period. And of course, because it is the second period, the Cleveland Monsters scored first. And who else but former IceHogs captain Tyler Sekura. And it was his first goal of the season. And number 2, it was on the power play. So that's a lot of unfunness. But what is fun is with under 5 minutes to go in the second period, Evan Barrett got his first professional goal. I love seeing all of these firsts come in. They just make you feel good. And on a night when the team was looking a lot better than they have so far, it made you feel extra good. Barrett's goal was assisted by Isaac Phillips. That was his first assist on the season. He did have a goal already. And Tim Soderlund finally got his first point of the season on that as well. Soderlund's been a guy who's kind of just been all over the ice, but the points just haven't been coming for him yet. He's a smaller guy, but he's really speedy, so if he can combine that speed with some good stick work and a scoring touch, the points will definitely start flowing in for him. I have full confidence it'll happen. He really just needs to get that first goal this season, and I feel like more will follow. A good way to kick that off is getting your first point, which he did in that second period. And the second ended tied 1-1. The IceHogs did not have a disastrous second period. How much happiness can we fit into one game? I mean, they could have spread out this happiness throughout the season and sprinkled in these good things and built off of them as the season went along, but it's fine. That didn't happen. Let's jam-pack it all into one game and hope that they build off of that. Going into the third, tied 1-1, it was anybody's game. Cleveland was coming off of a great first game of the back-to-back, once again winning 7-3. And the IceHogs had to come into this game after getting pounded for 7 goals and still looking for that first win of the season. I'd say more of the pressure was on the home team in this one. It was back and forth for a little while, with IceHogs fans probably all over holding their breath every time the puck went toward the net. You really just didn't want to see a goal go in. If it remains tied, it goes to overtime and they get a point. If Cleveland doesn't score another goal, maybe the IceHogs do, and then they win it in regulation. Those are both decent to good outcomes. But this is the 2021 Rockford IceHogs season that we are talking about, and the Cleveland Monsters scored first in the third period. 12 minutes and 27 seconds in, Evan Poli put the puck past Kale Morris. And then I think we collectively as IceHogs fans were just preparing for the disappointment of another loss, obviously still hoping that the team would come back. But going off of trends, it seemed pretty likely that this goal could maybe give Cleveland some momentum. They could get another goal or two, or they would just sit back and defend that 1-goal lead and shut it down and not let the Hogs get another shot. I mean, it came after the halfway point of the final period. I don't know about you, but I was sweating. But in comes the Russian wonder, Andrei Altibarmakian. He picked up his first AHL goal 16 minutes and 37 seconds into the final frame. If Altibarmakian getting his first goal is not exciting enough for you, Tim Soderlund picked up a second point in the game. So now the points are starting to come a little bit. It's only one game, it's only 2 points, but after going pointless in the first games that he played, it's kind of nice to get those two. And Evan Barrett didn't want to be left out. After getting his first goal in the second period, he also picked up an assist on Altibarmakian's goal. Whew, so if you are keeping track, there were under 4 minutes to go in the third period. The game was tied 2-2. And if you weren't sweating even more at that point, you should probably check your pulse. Time kept ticking off the clock. Neither team was scoring. Thankfully, Cleveland wasn't scoring, but the IceHogs also weren't scoring. Both teams were getting shots at the net. I know that my jaw was certainly clenched at this point. So from all of those descriptions, you can tell that I was kind of a mess on Tuesday night. Sweating bullets, jaw clenched, probably cracked some teeth or so in there. It's been a rough season so far, okay? Yes, I know we're only 7 games in at that point, but it's been rough. But in comes the newly drafted kid, Isaac Phillips, and with 93 seconds left on the clock, he picks up his second goal of the season with an absolute blast from the blue line. And then I almost fell out of my chair. To set the scene, I was sitting in a pretty normal computer chair. I can't sit like a normal human, so I had one leg underneath me and one foot touching the floor, fully prepared for this game to go to overtime or for Cleveland to stick a dagger in my heart and score before time ran out. I had a lot of anxious energy going on in here. And then it was as if I saw it happening in slow motion. I saw Phillips have the puck. He went to take the shot, and then the goal horn went off. And I don't really know what I did. It was a mixture of screaming and jumping, but somewhere in the mess, I got all tangled up in myself and in my chair, and I almost fell over. Thankfully, my left leg came in with some superhuman balance, kept me upright. The chair didn't end up falling over, and I was able to safely plant myself back in my seat while still celebrating the second goal of the season for Isaac Phillips as he takes the lead for the Rockford IceHogs with 93 seconds left in regulation. So, we're all celebrating, right? We're all super happy. The IceHogs have the lead in the third with 1.5 minutes to go. They scored 2 goals in the final 4 minutes. That is an effort that you want to see from your team. So then maybe you stop screaming and you sit back down and you're still internally celebrating and very happy and maybe still internally screaming as well. But then the reality sets in that there are still 93 seconds on the clock, and the IceHogs have to not allow another goal. If you've been an IceHogs fan for a while, especially last year it seemed, when the IceHogs would score a goal, the next couple shifts they were very vulnerable. I don't know what leads to that, if you just kind of get complacent or what, but there were many times they would score a goal and then you would see one go in against them very shortly after. So, come back to this season. The IceHogs searching for their first win. They have a ton of momentum. They have a bunch of happy feelings spreading throughout the lineup. The guys on the bench have to be elated. The guys who are on the ice have to be very nervous and have some happy, anxious energy. Poor Kale Morris, you got the rookie back there in his first professional start. His team is looking for their first win of the season in their 7th game. The guys in front of him have allowed 37 shots to get through. Yeah, they've looked better. Yes, Kale came through with some massive saves and looked good himself. And you would hope that for 1.5 minutes, the 5 skaters in front of him could keep the puck away, maybe keep the puck to the outsides if Cleveland does happen to enter the zone, or just keep them in the neutral zone or pinned in their own zone so they can't pull the goaltender. But ultimately, while you hope for all of that, those final 93 seconds are on your goaltender. He cannot make a mistake. I mean, as a hockey fan, how many times have you seen an absolute soul-crushing, weak, soft goal gone in on a team when they were flying high with momentum? It happens. It happens multiple times a season throughout the league. All that they could do, all that we could do, all that anybody invested in this IceHogs team could do was hope that the 5 skaters would be solid and that Kale Morris would be on top of his game like he had been for the rest of the minutes he'd been out there. And then you get to under 10 seconds in the game. It looks like it is within reach. The IceHogs are finally going to win their first game of the season in pretty dramatic fashion, scoring 2 goals in the final 4 minutes of the third period to take the lead. I'd call that pretty dramatic. But there's still time left on the clock, and the guys have looked good in the final minute and a half. Kale Morris has done his job, but there's still time left, and with how this season had gone so far, there was still a lot of anxiety, at least within me. I can't speak for anybody else, but I have a feeling I wasn't the only one. Then you saw it tick down to 9 seconds. Okay, 1 second is gone and they haven't scored yet. That's a plus. 8 seconds. All right, time is still ticking. The clock hasn't stopped. Cleveland hasn't scored. This is even more within reach. 7 seconds. 6 seconds. 5 seconds. It's even closer. I'm sure you, like me, can just envision this team celebrating their first win at this point, but there are still seconds on the clock. Anything could happen. This is hockey. It would not take 5 seconds for the puck to fly down to your goaltender if a guy took a slap shot from his own zone. Anything can happen. We've seen weirder goals. 4 seconds, all right? 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second, 0. The IceHogs win on home ice in front of their fans, asterisk, and they get their first win of the season. Going back to that asterisk, clearly the IceHogs just needed fans in the stands, not actual bodies. The IceHogs asked fans to send in pictures so they could put cardboard cutouts in the seats behind the net so the team can see them. You can see them on the broadcast if you're watching the game. If you didn't watch it, you could go back and look at pictures. You'll see them there. I sent one in, Jacqueline sent one in, and a bunch of other people sent them in. And we sent them in the day before. So kudos to everybody involved. I was not expecting them to be there that quickly. That was a fast turnaround time. So fans were kind of in the stands, the clock ticked down, the IceHogs won, the guys on the ice were celebrating. How did you feel at home? I don't know that the noises that my body was making were human. It was a mixture of heavy sighs of relief, also with happy screaming and groaning, and I probably just sounded like a swamp monster, which is fairly accurate for how I have felt so far this year. But it doesn't matter. I was alone in my living room. My face was at the BMO, but I was not. The only thing that mattered was the IceHogs won a game. They looked good doing it. You got 2 more guys getting their first AHL goals. Tim Soderlund picking up his first points of the season. They looked like a cohesive team. And barring something absolutely tragic, nothing was going to ruin my mood that night. If you are new to hockey or sports in general, I would not recommend that you tie your emotional well-being and your mood directly to your team, if you can help it. I certainly didn't choose this life, but it can go from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows. And even if you end up somewhere in the middle, you're still kind of miserable because it means your team hasn't won. So enjoy it for what it is, watch the sport for entertainment, get to learn the players so you can root for them, but do not tie your well-being to their success. Just a life pro tip from somebody who suffers very much because of her teams. So the last game obviously ended on a high note, but the season doesn't end there. There are still more games to play. The IceHogs have another back-to-back with the Cleveland Monsters this weekend. This time they are in Cleveland instead of here at the BMO. So let's go over my 3 questions for Saturday's game in Cleveland. Question 1, which goaltender do we see? Kale Morris won the last game. You think put him in net, right? Obvious decision? Or is it? Again, this is a back-to-back. You would Assume that he sees one of the two games. Do you put him in the first, kind of ride the hot hand since he did get that win? Or, hoping that the team is playing better, building off of some momentum, do you put Tompkins back in to see if he can grab his first win of the season? Or do you pull a wild card and play Tom Aubryn? That is always an option. It'll be interesting to see what they decide to go with. If I was making the call, I would put Kale Morris back in the net. He had a fantastic game on Tuesday. He had a fantastic first period on Monday. By first period, I mean his first period, which was the third period of the game, just to clear up any confusion. But see if he can ride that great game into the next one. And if he does, it wouldn't be crazy to see him get Sunday's game as well. We have seen this team play goaltenders back-to-back before. Even as recently as last season, when once again we had a 3-goalie rotation. Sometimes you just gotta play the hot hand, especially when you're looking for those first couple of wins of the season. You finally got that first one. Now let's see if you can keep it rolling a little bit. So, who do they decide to go with? Your guess is as good as mine. My choice would be Kale Morris. Let me know your choice. Question 2. Do the IceHogs come into this game with more energy and build off of the positivity of their first win? If you watched my last video about this team, it was not very positive, but I had mentioned that they are basically a different team game to game. They do some positives in one. The next game, you hope they build off of them, but they improve on something else and completely abandon those positive habits they had found in the previous game. That's been the trend so far. But also so far, before Tuesday, the trend was losing games. So now that they have that first win, they know that they can do it. They know that they can come back into the game in clutch moments. Again, 2 goals with less than 4 minutes to go. Those are the things that you love to see for a young team. Not just because it's exciting to see it happen and you want to have the celebration of goals, you want the celebration of them winning, which those 2 goals led to. But after losing 6 straight, and for such a young team, that had to be messing with their confidence. So this game was huge for them. Now they see that they can do it. They know what it takes. And guys keep getting their first goals. So the guys who haven't yet, they see it happening. I'm pretty sure it's happened every single game so far. So they know that their turn is just around the corner. They just have to keep pushing, keep moving their feet, keep building off of positive habits that they develop. So will they do that going into the next game? We can hope so. Question 3. Will the IceHogs score on the power play? They only saw 1 power play Tuesday night, which was pretty shocking to me when I looked that up, and they didn't score on it. They saw 4 power plays on Monday, didn't score on those either. After starting super hot, and I'll keep mentioning it because it was clearly a fluke, they scored 3 power play goals on their first 3 power plays of the season. Now we are going into game number 8, and they are 4 for 32. So, they need to work on that one a little bit. Their power play is currently ranked 19th in the league, so somehow it's not the worst, but that's still not great. And as of late, their penalty kill has also fallen off a little bit. Now, that could just be due to Monday night's game. Since this is a young season, there aren't as many numbers, and stats can get affected pretty quickly when it comes to percentages. With how they've looked on the PK, I'm sure that they can build that back up and get back to within the top 20 at least. The power play, on the other hand, I could see that falling down further if they don't start picking it up. I mean, clearly that's just common sense. If they don't score on the power play, their percentages are going to get worse. You know what I mean. So will they start turning that around this weekend since they have some momentum? We can hope so. So there's a recap of Tuesday night's game, just a little tiny one like we had from the previous. I didn't think I was going to record this long, but apparently I had a lot to say and I have a lot of feelings. Again, that's what happens when you tie your emotions to a hockey team. Not advised. Anywho, you also have my 3 questions for the next game in Cleveland on Saturday. How are you feeling going into that one? Do you have more confidence in this team now that they've shown they can win? Are you still skeptical? Are you just cautiously and anxiously awaiting any outcome? All very valid feelings. I want to hear about them. Leave them in the comments. If you want to hear more from me or from Center Ice, you can subscribe to this channel for some IceHogs and Blackhawks goodness, or you can go over to FromCenterIce.com. Keep up with the latest podcast episodes, IceHogs game recaps, previews for Blackhawks games. I do have the IceHogs roster on there with updated stats. You can check that out. You can also follow us on social media. All the links for those are in the description down below. All of that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. I greatly appreciate it. The IceHogs finally won a game, and I will see you after the next one. Bye, guys. Thank you all for watching. Please hit that subscribe button to catch more From Center Ice content. If you could, hit the like button on this video, maybe share it with a friend or two, and while you're here, check out the podcast playlist and catch up on some old episodes. We will catch y'all next time. Bye!